This is Kathleen Ramon with Stay Sober While Traveling. And today I'm here with Emily Kisvada, and she has a whole bunch of things going on. She is a transformational travel leader. She has products that she sells. She is an energetic healer, and she has a really big background in nursing. So we have a little bit of that medical expertise here. Emily, do you want to kind of talk a little bit more about yourself?
Hi. Well, firstly, thank you, Kathleen, for having me on your show. I was really excited when you had messaged me, and I thought, yes, would love to do it. Would love to do it. So thank you. So yes, you've pretty much already said quite a few things there, but yes. So my background started in nursing, and what in 2004 was when my big moment hit. You know, my dark night of the soul, and I went into all these transformational aspects about myself. So from nursing, I actually became an integrated healer. I've delved very much into crystals. I am, a teacher, researcher, alchemist. I create my own vibrational elixirs. I created templates, card decks, and really I call myself a lifelong student of learning about everything esoteric. And of course, the travel aspect then came into it for me in 2010. So, but everything melds all together, and it's really lovely.
I love it. It just sounds like you're just this wise woman of healing. You
Thank
know?
you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's good energy. And you're located in Melbourne, yes?
Correct.
Australia?
Melbourne, Australia.
I love it. I love it.
Lived
I
here
haven't
my
been to
whole life.
Melbourne yet, but I've been to Sydney and Brisbane and a couple places.
Ah, wonderful. Was that long ago or?
It was the year before the Sydney Olympics. So I
Oh,
was a kid.
okay. It's a
I mean,
long time ago.
I think I was okay, I don't exactly know what age I was. I was like a teen, like a preteen to a teen, and that
Yeah.
was the last time.
Okay.
So, but I need to go back because I
Yeah.
have this dream to learn to scuba dive because I'm an avid snorkeler and I
Wow.
want to see the Barrier Reef.
Yes. Yes. Got to go up north to Queensland. It's beautiful. Really
Yes.
beautiful. Bring the kids.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Australia is just amazing location. I had like such fond memories over there because it's similar to the US, but it's also vastly different.
Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
And we have a lot of, yeah, dangerous animals here to go on top of that. Yeah.
I
It's very close you see is about our spiders and our snakes and yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yes, and we have rattlesnakes and we have some
Mm,
spiders that are crazy too. So it's like, I don't know. People were like, "You're going to Australia,
crazy
you're
for
gonna die."
crazy.
And I'm like, "We're not gonna
Yeah.
die. We're gonna
No. Yeah.
be fine." So tell me about your experience with traveling. You started this whole transformational travel program. What does that look like?
Okay, so going back, as I mentioned earlier, my husband passed away in 2004 from cancer. 2 weeks prior to him passing, my brother-in-law had died of an overdose, and then 2 years later, my mum passed away from breast cancer. So a lot of that adult life, that young adult life, was really stricken by grief. And I had also had at the time when my husband died, 4 children under the age of 10. And even to this day, I've pretty much been a solo parent for the last 20 years. So that was 2004, or so it was 3 years after, sorry, that my mum had passed. So that was 2007. So I'd started actually going through a healing process. So when my husband passed away, I was looking for something to assist me on my own healing journey, looking for that self-healing, that self-discovery. And so I'd started with a couple of little weekend workshops with people, and of course, I'd already started doing courses. And, you know, Rob's passing really opened up a world I never knew. So I always called myself the diamond and gold girl. And I had my blinkers on. I didn't, you know, all I saw was what was in front of me. It was more, you know, coming from a place of comfort rather than getting out of my comfort zone. And you know, and then I started getting into the crystals. That happened very, very quickly. So I started delving into crystals and working with crystals, and did a crystal course, and, you know, then on top of that started teaching it. But I then went away this one weekend up north in Queensland, and I'd met a couple of people who were running a tour to Sedona, to Arizona. And all I heard in my head, this was 2009, and I'm like, I'm going, I've just got to go. And really, that was the start of my travels to also sacred sites. So, you know, and everything was opening up for me all at the one time, working with my, you know, creating these elixirs, or started off with an essence, created the elixir because you're working with synergy of energy, then, you know, to the point of the elixirs then went with my cards and creating templates. And then what I started finding was, as time was going, I was also creating these on sacred land when I traveled. So everything I do goes hand in hand. So 2010 saw me in Sedona. It was a really profound time because I don't think I really realized how hard it would hit me in terms of the healing that I had to do and the grief that I had. It wasn't just grief, it was the anger that was associated with the grief. And it wasn't until right at the end of that journey that I really let it go, because it was like I didn't even know I was holding on to what I was, but they kept coaxing and coaxing, and in the end, you know, they got it out of me, and I just let go of everything. And that was where it really, really started to understanding, like, you know, worlds starting to open up for me and going, you know, I'm here on sacred land. You're working within the ley lines and the vortexes and the energy. And anyone who's been to Sedona will know, you know, in particular about the energetics of this place. But, you know, I've gone on my healing journey, which was about grief, but it can be done you know, anybody can go, anyone who's looking for a healing aspect. You know, the thing is that the reason, or the way we see things is that, and for some reason it seems to be the human experience, the way for us to experience change and to be able to let go and heal and, you know, to do the releasing, is we have to hit rock bottom. We get to that point of needing to go through the dark night of the soul. Usually to get there, we go through some form of trauma or crisis within our lives, whether it is death, whether it is from drinking, whether it is from drugs, you know, overeating, because that in itself is an addiction. You know, we just get ourselves to that point where we can't keep going any further down, and we have to go, that's it, we need to make change. For me, travel has been a major part of that, and a major part of me going, I can go through this healing, and I can do it in particular, you know, for me, around these sacred sites. And the ancients knew, you know, for me, I've been to a number of places. So it's Sedona, I've been to Mexico, I've been to Peru and Egypt, Uluru, you know, and there are so many other places, but this is where, you know, I've seemed to have found my place as well, where I love to be. And every time I go, even 13 years down the track, having started doing my own personal work, every time I go without fail, I still go through some form of healing, because we are always releasing. We're always, letting go of the old so that we can allow, a new energy within our own lives so that we can, move on this journey.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, you said so much there to unpack. So, grief in general, I mean, I felt, I've had lots of grief throughout my life, but I always think back to like when I lost my dad. When he passed away, that was major, major grief. But I
Yeah.
will say too that a different kind of grief happened when I got divorced because I
Yeah.
was still grieving that ideal marriage that I had had in my head and who he was when we first met and all this stuff. And that was grief. And then too, when I got sober, I felt like I grieved my companion, whether his name is Jose or Jack or whatever the thing is
Yeah.
that we were
Yeah.
drinking. I was grieving like it was an old friend that I lost. And
Yeah.
that was kind of a surprise. And I think a lot of us who are sober grieve in multiple ways. And so, traveling to these healing locations is fascinating to me for grief.
And I think what's important to say at this point as well is it's okay if you're not fully open to the point of, that you're in touch with all your clairs, like the clairsentience, clairvoyance, clairaudience, whatever it might be. It doesn't matter if you can't feel, see, touch, taste, whatever it is energetically. It's the fact or just the inner knowing that you're ready on your journey and that you're making a choice at this point in time to go to Egypt, to go to Peru, to go to Mexico, to go to Sedona, wherever it might be. And you are going to be within certain energies at certain points along that way. And when you do that, when you're doing that, it's okay if it's subtle. For some, it will be subtle. For some, it will be explosive, and I can give you an example of that as well. But it's knowing that you're already opening yourself up to it energetically. So what you are meant to receive, you will get. These ancient civilizations knew where to build. They knew how to build. And when you go to these places, it is like nothing you have ever experienced before. And it's not everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. But, like I remember the first time I went to Peru and I was in Machu Picchu, and it was actually a group of Americans, sorry to say. But this American guy walked past as I must have been walking to the bus, I think. He goes, oh, all it is a big bunch of rocks. And it's like,
Oh,
oh, you couldn't be more closed up if you tried. And
right.
it's like it sounds funny, but at the same time, it was really sad because, you know, it is another little rabbit hole, but this is stuff that is not taught at schools.
Right.
We don't really understand the true significance of these places and why they were built, Um, and questioning to why things all over the world are so similar to the
Mhm.
window shapes, to the pyramid forms. You know, there are so many things that are there, and this is I was actually thinking about it before we started speaking. Is you can go, once you start the travel aspect, once you start going. So for me, I'm talking sacred sites. You don't have to go to a sacred site to heal, but this, there is a reason people are drawn to these places, whether you realize it or not. But then if you are really awake to what's going on and you start to, as you start to open up more consciously, which is awareness is consciousness, you start to question life. And that is what I have found from people who do travel with me or that I've traveled with others. They get to a point on their journey and they go, apart from questioning themselves, they start questioning life, they start questioning the surrounds, they start questioning the architecture, and they go, who, how, why, what, or why, who, how, what, why. And it's intriguing.
And it's just an increased awareness. I remember
Yes.
when I first went to the Acropolis in Greece, and
I just came from.
oh, did you? Nice.
Mm.
I wasn't very impressed with Athens as a whole. I was like, what is this? But I'd always been super intrigued by Greek mythology and
Yeah.
in particular. And so, there's a gazillion people trying to see the Acropolis, right?
Yes.
And I'm surrounded by people. So I'm getting like a little bit of anxiety. People are bumping into me and it's like, what is happening? And then I get to the steps.
Yeah.
And I walk up the steps and I put my hand on a column.
Yeah.
And I started bawling.
Ah.
And it wasn't because I was surrounded by people and it wasn't that anxiety. It was like
Connection.
joy. It was connection. It was joy. It was, I am overwhelmed by all the feelings that I am feeling. And I was not expecting that. So what is that? What is it? Like, what is it?
Yeah. You've connected to something because most likely you already had a past life connection with that place. And, I totally get it. I totally get it. And that I use the word profound a lot because for me, everything that I do when it comes to this travel and the experience, and every time I learn something new, and I just go, oh my God, that's so profound. That's so profound. But it is so profound.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter that, again, that you don't understand why. It's just at least the knowing that you have a connection with Athens, to the Acropolis, to Athena, whatever it may be, for you is okay. And whatever you're meant to get from that experience, you will have gotten.
Yeah.
When I first started the journey to Egypt, so I don't have that card on me. Anyway, in 2018, 17, I started channeling Thoth. Okay. Now, it's always good to remember that whenever we're channeling, we're actually channeling our higher self, but it's coming through as that energy of that particular person, or netter, we'll call it a netter, which is a force of nature, energy of nature. And I had a number of months where I just kept channeling and getting all this information. And I'd be like, whoa, where's all this coming from? And so the other thing to remember is when you start getting a place in mind, for example, if you just keep hearing Egypt, 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 you need to go to Egypt, because your higher self, your soul, is letting you know this is where you need to be on your journey. There's something there for you. So that was what was happening for me. I was getting this big calling to go to Egypt. And then one of these channelings that I did, I got that I had to go to a place, I had to go to Egypt, and I had to go to a place in Abydos, the Assyrian in Abydos. And I'm like, okay, no idea, no idea, no idea. Anyway, I ended up booking, and I created a template called Seed of the Soul. So this is where my name, I always said it would be the next part of the journey of my business. And even though Phoenix Gateway is the parenting company, Seed of the Soul is the travel aspect. And I created a template. So I now have 12 main templates. And I did design the template, and I didn't do the write-up about it because I usually channel the artwork and then I write about them later. Anyway, I ended up going to Egypt after all of this, and we just so happened, I made sure wherever I was, whatever tour I'd gone on, that it was going to the place I was told to go to. And I got there, and when I entered this particular temple, I started crying.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, it was like I was home.
Yep.
And like even telling you my hairs are standing on end at the moment. Um, but what happened was as soon as I left that temple, I'm like, oh, my stomach is not feeling good here.
Mm.
And I ended up having like a 48-hour bug sort of thing, if you want to call it a bug. But it was more for like I couldn't stop going to the toilet.
Mm.
And it was like that was what I needed to release at that point in time, whatever it was I was holding on to. That particular moment was that, I received this major download, this, you know, it was overwhelming, overwhelming to the point where I actually had to take a day off one of the tour because I needed time to myself. I needed to integrate what had just happened. Like I didn't understand it at that point,
Mm.
but
Process.
I actually went through a physical purge. And it's very, very common. Even when I do my integrated healing work, it's very common for people to go through some form of physical purging because you're doing a clearing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, this was just being in the temple and the energy there, it just went right through me.
That's
Yeah.
so that's so interesting how all of that works with the energy and the cleansing and and then you took the time to process it. And what a blessing that you can, walk through this with other people too. Um,
Yes.
so on your tours, do you go to these specific sacred sites?
Yes.
Um, and how, I mean, there's probably sacred sites everywhere, right? Like
Yeah.
how do you decide where to go and what to do?
Particularly because it's Egypt where I'm running the tours, there is, it's just a knowing of where to go. And if you start looking at the history, if you start looking at the River Nile and looking at the temples along the way as well, you start to realize that the temples also have a connection into our chakra points. So
Mm.
that through the initiates or the initiation that the ancient Egyptians went through, they were actually working along the River Nile and working at these access points. So we go to these very specific temples along the way. Giza Plateau, of course, is where the Great Pyramid is. The Sphinx, and I mean the plateau itself has so many different pyramids that we do visit. Even through Saqqara to Dashur, you've got the Red Pyramid, Ben Pyramid, the step pyramid, so when we get to access these pyramids, you can go inside most of them. And it's just knowing where to go. And what is a bonus, I work with alongside a gorgeous man, Youssef Uyam, and he's just being with him, the access into certain places, you just get that little bit more. If you were to go and do a tour with a normal company, just every Joe Blow company from Egypt, you'll go to many of the same places in terms of like the temples and whatnot. And you stop on the River Nile. Well, going down the River Nile, we do a beautiful 4-night cruise on the River Nile. And you'll stop off the temples, and yeah, you'll see it. You'll get your little explanation from the Egyptologist who is there, but you don't have myself or someone like yourself, and we're not the only ones. There are other people, of course, but you will receive information that you will not receive on a normal tour. You will be able to access certain places you will not be able to do on a normal tour, if you were to go. And that's what makes it such an amazing tour. And you've got the knowledge, there's the healing aspect, and what's beautiful for this tour, I am actually in the midst of creating another elixir, and it's going to be specifically for the tours of Egypt. Yeah. So it's remarkable. It's really beautiful.
Mhm. And so how do these elixirs and things like that help with the travel in a transformational way?
Because you're working energetically. So just to give you an idea, this is a full set. I can never get the camera right. There it is.
Yeah.
This is my full set of elixirs. Okay,
Oh, nice
there's
eye, of
actually
course.
34, so it's 33, but when you buy the whole set, there's one you can get as an extra.
Mhm.
And these are high vibrational frequencies that have been bottled, and they work on all aspects of mind, body, and soul, and they're created to help with balance, nurture, and healing on all those levels. Um, I have actually created a number of these on some of my own, some of my travels. So I've created, in the high altitudes of Peru. I've created in different places in Egypt. I've also made some in Uluru. And so there are, so if you know the Bach remedies or flower, like flower remedies that you can buy, these are the same. It's the same concept of
Mm.
what it is. So you're working with an energetic frequency. And so when to create specifically for the tour will be then assisting those on the tour to be, whatever shifts energetically need to be made, or, what needs help with being released, whatever it might be. It's going to be very, it will be very unique to each individual to what they will receive from working with it. Yeah.
Wow. It's almost like a very, very different lens of a vitamin or a supplement, right?
Yes, yeah. It's a
For,
complementary therapy.
nice.
That's how so it's a complementary therapy. So it's, you put it's being telling people that you don't change, like, swap it out for your medication or anything. That's not, it's a complementary therapy, so you can work with it. And because it's all working on energetics, it's a synergy of energy. So it's a matter of, it's about sound frequency in it. It's crystals, plants, fruit, um, certain aspects of animals. Like, it's a whole array of different energies that have then created each one of those specific elixirs, and I call them lab, so liquid alchemy in a bottle. And of
Wow.
course, when we talk about alchemy, which is really interesting, when we look at Egypt, the actual name um, of Egypt is the land of Kem. And we're talking about Kem, we're looking at the black land, the black sand. And from Kem, we get alchemy and chemistry.
Oh.
So, yeah. And, it's the theory of alchemy is turning lead into gold. But ultimately, the reason we are here on this planet now, that we incarnated, is that we are here to create, lead into gold. It's about doing the inner work to be able to release and create change, and to find your balance and your freedom, your happiness. It's about all the work that we do on ourselves to get ourselves to a level that we need to be, and to truly understand love of all
Mm.
things. Yeah, love of self first and foremost, and then the love of our surrounds and other people, and forgiveness. And so, yeah, we're on quite a journey to be here right now. Then the awakening process is huge. As I wrote in my email, my newsletter today, many of us, we come here, if you believe in reincarnation, and to reasons why we come into the physical plane through the three-dimensional reality that we're in, or into our some say the avatar, the meat suit, whatever you want to say, we really come with an aspect of amnesia. And it's, as you know, the lessons that we go through, the trauma, the crises, and it's not just about hardships, but it's also the elation, the positiveness that we, every aspect of what our lives are about, and what we, it's like the blueprint. What contract did you come here with? But it allows us to go through that, for most, not everyone, that process of awakening, that awareness. And awareness is consciousness, and it's here, we're here to shift. And these, the sacred sites, they help us on all these levels to expand in our awareness, in consciousness, on our, in the physical aspect, the emotional, mental, spiritual, on all levels.
Wow. As a
Yeah.
person who taught chemistry, now my mind is really going here.
Yeah.
I taught middle school, but that whole concept of like, we are the lead turning into gold. That's profound, to use your word. It really is, because, we're trying to manipulate the outside world, turning an actual lead into gold kind of thing, which as a chemistry teacher is impossible. But it's not impossible to transform our value into a higher value, from within. And so it's like we can do that glow up ourselves internally, and traveling can be that catalyst to create,
absolutely.
right? Like that catalyst, like when I walked onto the Acropolis, it was like there is something changing inside me, that release of the tears, the release of that you experience, like where clearly there's something there. And the hard part is that, at least for me, like I don't understand what's going on, but I acknowledge something is going on, and I should keep doing it, because the more I travel to these beautiful, well-known like places, the better I feel, and the more I process through my trauma, and the more I process through just experiences that have, dimmed my shine, for lack of a better word.
No, I totally understand.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
We're getting off on time a little bit, but you had mentioned at the beginning that you might have a free gift or something for our viewers. Want to talk about that?
Yes, I do. So when I created my product, my lab, I also created an ebook, and I have it on my website. So on the home page of my website, which you have the link, but it's the phoenixgateway.com.au.
We'll link it.
On the top right-hand corner, you can download your free ebook, or I've just given you a link as well that you can have it, access it straight away. And from this, you will be able to see, the top 5 reasons to why I created liquid alchemy in the bottle, or how you can use it. Not so much created it, but the reasons why, looking at it. Yeah. And it can be worked with children and adults alike. They are, just to quickly say, they are kept with alcohol. So for anyone who has had an issue with alcohol, you can actually put the drops in water, and that will actually disperse the alcohol that is in it as well. If you can't actually ingest it straight off, you can also put it into your food. You can just carry the bottle, and at the end of the day, you can also just put it with apple cider vinegar. So there are different ways to work with them as well.
And I, because I just don't do alcohol at all, really, I sometimes put things like that on my skin, because you can absorb things like that from your skin oftentimes. Does that work with that too? Yeah.
Or you could put it in a moisturizer, so then you don't smell the alcohol, because I mean the bottle, like there's only a third alcohol in a bottle, so the minimum is 5 mils to 10 mils. That's it. And it's dispersed within the water, and that's in it as well. So there are ways to get around it.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, and you know what else I've done before is when I'm taking a bath, I've poured some tinctures and things like that in my bath water so that it really like absorbs into it and I have a whole experience.
Yeah, yeah. No, well, that's it. You can put it in your bath. Perfect. Perfect. And it's you only need a few drops. Like, it's still going to work whichever way. So yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah. So as we're coming to a close, do you have any final thoughts for our sober travel community?
Well, I'd love to give you a link if it's okay to have a look at my tour. But I have another tour coming up next year in October, which is called the Seed of Sechem, and it's about coming back into, which is the seed of power. So it's about reconnecting to your power, passion, and purpose. Whether you do one of my tours, whether whatever you may do in time, travel is one of the best things for the soul. And it is one of the most cathartic experiences I have had throughout my lifetime. And it's something that I just know I want to do. As long as I can afford to do what I do, I'd like to keep doing it on every year. So if you have the opportunity to go, even if you can't get out of, your town, you will always find somewhere, or someone will know of something that has a specific, even if you're looking for the energetics of it, then you can start looking up and go, oh, I could go somewhere like here, or it might be like, I keep feeling you need to go to Hawaii, or you've been to Hawaii. I'm not quite sure. But, if for me, I think for you, like, I'm going to use you now because I'm just so drawn to telling you that I feel you need to go to Hawaii.
Please do.
And I really think it's the aspect of you being within the water, the surround of whales, dolphins. It's been that connection to Lemuria, Atlantis for you, going back. My hairs are standing on air, so I'm just going to tell you for you. So what I'm saying also is, and even though I've said this to you, but if you get a place in your head like Egypt or Peru or Hawaii or wherever it is, go, because that is where your soul it has a calling, and and you'll find out when you're there to why.
Well, and
Yeah.
I love Hawaii. I've been there multiple times, but
There you go.
I've only been to Maui and Oahu, so I've always been drawn to like the Big Island or Kauai and things like that. So, and I wanted to be a marine biologist. So you hit the nail on the head.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
The marine mammals in particular. There, I was being from San Diego. I was obsessed with the ocean. I still am.
Yeah. Well, then maybe that's what I'm getting. But yeah, that's it's, I just see you surrounded by water, and I see whales in particular. So yeah.
That's so funny. I totally wanted to work with whales for a long, long time.
Oh. There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you're onto something there. I believe it. I believe it. Like you just made a huge believer out of me.
Yeah.
Funny. Like literally as a kid, all I put was I wanted to be a dolphin trainer. And then I later was like, no, I don't want to train the dolphins. I just want to be with them, and I want to be with the whales. I don't really, like I'm in like I used to take kids kayaking and we'd look for orcas. Like that was a whole thing. And
Yeah.
actually probably good that we did not find them.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Not
that's
actually worked out so well.
But I've seen some amazing videos with orcas.
So
Mm.
smart. They're so
But good
smart.
ones, like people interaction, and not, in the wild.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, thank you again for being here and
Oh,
for sharing your wisdom about the connection with travel and spirituality and purpose and healing. I mean, it's just
yeah.
healing overall. So I appreciate you being here. Thank you for everyone who's listening.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.